Okay, here we go. Welcome to episode 404 of the Self-Help Podcast with me, Ed Lamb, and my good pal Sean Orford. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing very, very well. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Yeah, I just said before we came in, I had a strange dream about you last night where you invited us into your home in, I think you were in it was like Beirut or some weird, not weird, but exotic town or city in the Far East or Middle East.
Yeah, my comment was when you were dreaming about me was it a nightmare?
No, it's just a regular kind of strange dream that probably has got lots of deep meaning. Actually, thinking about it, do you do much kind of dream work? Do people come to you saying they've had this dream?
Yeah,
and
very often when you're doing dream work, it's realizing that dreams are sequential; they're not one-offs. And usually, when you start having weird dreams, you need to start keeping a dream journal. And because once you get into the storylines, you can see how they're changing and developing, and you can learn quite a lot that way.
Yeah,
I used to run dream workshops at one time. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, we should do an episode about that actually once we're through. This little series because I don't think we have for a while, and we probably have at some point over the years. But let's try. I'll try and remember. It's hard, isn't it, to keep hold of dreams in your head for longer than an hour or two sometimes. But that one, I'm hoping that one.
Well, that's one of the reasons why you need to write it down. When you're coming in and out of sleep, you're in a theta brainwave. And you got memory around theta, but you got the alpha, beta, and theta. And it's like once the theta shuts down, you can lose the dream. Right. Unless you do something to transfer it as you're coming out of sleep into the alpha, beta memory part, then the theta just disappears. So it's gone.
Wow. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we're not talking too much. We might talk about dreams at some point today, but we are on step 7 of our 10-step kind of podcast version of the Live in the Present book, or the course that you used to run, Sean, aren't we? So we're talking about the part where people can get stuck often, aren't we, and how to overcome those barriers.
And one of the relevant things to say about that was when we put this together, and we put the book together and we ran it as the 10-week course, the idea was that over 10 years people would make this transformation. And one of the things that becomes obvious in doing it is that you to do one of these steps each week is a bit of a fantasy. In reality, it could take you a couple of years to go through the process of change. Yeah. So we're at kind of week 7 in the program, but we're quite people it would take more than 7 weeks to get to this kind of point. But
yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we'll crack in and we'll get stuck into it. liveinthepresent.co.uk for all the show notes and links, one of which is we're giving away the book chapter by chapter each week at the moment. So if you go to the website, and you'll find a PDF with this chapter, and you'll be able to scroll back and search for episodes gone by and get access to the book. You can buy the book as a complete object through the website as well if you wish, as a PDF. We'll even send you a physical copy, just like people used to do in the olden days, eh?
Ta-da! It's the real thing. Yeah.
Very nice, man. Very nice. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. Should I share my screen? So, people that are listening just on the podcast, do not worry. You're not going to miss too much by not seeing what people that are watching this on YouTube might be seeing. But it's just some notes to kind of keep us on track. And this is the presentation you used to show on the course itself, Sean?
Yeah, near enough.
Wicked. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about today getting beyond stuck. So do you want to give a bit of background, like we have done recently, where we're up to and what's been going on?
Yeah, and if you're seeking to change yourself, and we know that we can change because of neuroplasticity, and we know the processes that we need, which we've been going through in the steps. But most people get to a point where they get stuck, or they find they regress backwards. And what that is, it's the learned habits that we've had. They get so embedded that it's easy for them to regenerate. And it's learning to observe it when it comes back up and think, no, yeah. And getting stuck can very often be that I don't know how to do the next bit, which means you need to talk to somebody if you're trying to change. Or it could be that maybe you've grown up thinking that you're an idiot, and that you're actually at a point where you're trying to do stuff, and that negative voice in your head is going, but you can't do that because you're an idiot. And then you listen to the voice and you go along with it. So there's lots of ways that you can get stuck. But the most important thing is, we'll go through the different bits of it, but the most important thing is do something about it. Don't just stop. It's a bit like people talk about fight and flight, that either you hit it or you run away. But we know that there's a third point, which is fight, flight, or freeze. And some people just go, and can't move. Yeah. And that's the bit we need to avoid. So the issue about we've been learning since we took our first breath, and that creates the paradigm that we see as ourselves. It's the way I describe me. Yeah. And very often the negative bits inside me we name as a monkey. You got a monkey in your mind who's running away and throwing bananas at you, and it could be a negative monkey, a sarcastic monkey, an angry monkey, doesn't matter. But you need to keep all that negative stuff in the cage. Yeah. Don't let it get out and get in the way. So it's the issue of learning to be in the moment, but to be in the moment that you want to be in, not rehearsing the past or worrying about the future, being in the moment. So the idea of having a focused meditation, being able to focus on your belief and on your dreams, and being able to focus on where you're going and what you're doing. Yeah, and identifying these negative things that are holding you back and doing something about it. And some of the meditations that we've got, the relaxations, are there in it. If you read the book, then you got lots of ideas there. But if none of that is working for you, talk to somebody. Yeah, talk to me, talk to anybody. Yeah, do something to change it. You don't have to stay in a negative place. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of my analogies and thoughts comes from Lord of the Rings. Like regular listeners might have heard me mention Lord of the Rings loads, because it's like one of my favorite stories. I'm currently reading it again with my eldest lad, so loving some more of the insights from like just reading it for the third time in my life or whatever it is. There's a bit that people who are aware of the movie in particular might be a bit more familiar with, and there's a bit early on when the Fellowship are all together, and they've just entered the mines of Moria. Yeah. And Gandalf's forgotten the way to go through all the crazy maze of paths and in caves. And all he does to kind of remember is sit down for an hour or so and he has a chat with Frodo. And then he remembers. So sometimes when you get stuck, without giving any spoilers away, is it worth remembering that, sometimes the best thing to do is just to wait?
Well, there's something that will come up in the presentation, I think, in a bit, is that it's what I call the knowing silence. It's like our active conscious brain is so busy chattering away that we can't see the wood for the trees. It's only when we stop long enough to actually get that part of our brain to shut up. And in fact, what we're doing when we do that, we're entering the theta phase that we were talking about before. But it's when you get into that part of your brain is when you can start to see the answers to issues and actually get on and do it. It's good.
All right. Yeah. Cool. When in doubt, just think what would Gandalf do? That's what I tend to.
He'd get his wand out and wave it about.
Yeah. All right. So what to do when you are stuck?
Yeah, and this is the point. Is like we all get stuck, we all lose heart, and despite our best effort, things don't work. Yeah, and everybody has that dark night of the soul when they kind of go through the self-doubt, and I can't do this, it's not going to work. Yeah, that's normal. Yeah, but as my American friends say, we don't have problems here, we have learning opportunities, and that's the point. It's like these things are not an end. These things are just something to help us to strengthen what we're doing and to get ourselves going. Yeah.
So even you, Sean, have moments where you get stuck and lose heart every now and then.
Yeah. There's times when even now I do a clinic, and I've had a really tough clinic, and I come out of it and I think, what on earth do I do this for? I'm used to this, and I go through all that, and then have to kind of, okay, relax, just go meditate for a bit, bring yourself back again.
Yeah. Or give Ed a call. Yeah, give Ed. Ed will give you a pep talk, something like that.
Who are you gonna call? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and this is where the law of attraction can come in handy, eh?
yeah, yeah. And there's something that I really like about this quote here, right? It's like we know the law of attraction, the things that we focus on, we pay attention to. Yeah. But there was this wonderful, I was teaching guitar once, and this person on the call suddenly said, excuse me, yeah, how often should I tune my guitar? Now that to me was the most bizarre statement because to get your head round, because you don't tune it every Wednesday at 3:30. You tune your guitar when it needs tuning, when it goes out of tune. That's when you tune your guitar. You know, I really struggled with it at the time. And it's like keeping ourselves on track isn't, we have a meeting every Wednesday to just, it's like, it's a moment by moment thing. You've got to keep yourself in tune. Yeah. And that means having some awareness and being able to correct things that go wrong. So the issue is, have you ever had any failures? We all have. And then the issue is, okay, what did you do about it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And could we turn the lead into gold? Could we turn this apparent failure into some positive stuff? Because that's the key. That's the key. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess with something like a guitar, yeah, you tune it when it needs tuning. You can tell it's when you just strum that E chord or that G chord when you pick it up, and you can tell if it needs tweaking.
Yeah.
But I guess with our bodies and our minds, it's they kind of need constant attention, don't they? So you don't wait until you can feel a heart attack coming on to kind of get in shape. you do well. Ideally, you should do. You stay in shape as part of your everyday life. Or you go to the gym, or you go for a ride, or you go for a jog a few times a week, or whatever it is, that kind of thing. So yeah, our minds aren't guitars, are they?
No. And it's interesting, the whole thing about bodies. I was reading some research this week that was talking about giving the vaccine to people with high BMIs, so people that were clinically obese. And if your BMI is greater than 30, which is pretty big, that they were saying that they've now calculated that you need a bigger dose of the vaccine to take account of the extra body size.
Oh, wow.
That they're using the vaccines on a standard sized body, which is probably too much if you're really slim, but is not enough if you're bigger.
Yeah, I'm a pretty slender guy. I mean, I do eat a lot of chocolate and chips and takeaways as well.
It'll get you, don't worry, it'll come.
Yeah, I guess when my time comes and I get my jab, I'll be getting the jab that's been designed for someone of a certain size, I guess. And but
well, hopefully we would have learned enough to adjust the vaccine dose sizes by then.
Yeah, maybe I'll just ask for a half a portion, something like
that. Yeah.
Go on in.
Yeah. Dreams are what create the future in lots of ways. Yeah, but you have to decide the difference between a dream and a fantasy. A fantasy is what I call a magenta image that you kind of play with, but doesn't actually turn into anything positive. It stays as an internalized fantasy. Wouldn't it be nice if I can remember back in the 60s, sat around with loads of people or planning these amazing trips that we were going to do. We get maps out and look, I never went on the trips kind of thing, that kind of stuff. It was a fantasy, whereas a vision, which is a positive creative vision, is something that turns into an externalized reality. Yeah. And one of the problems, loads of us have the most amazing ideas, in the shower, on the loo. We have ideas that could change the whole of humanity. We have the most amazing ideas that would make a fortune, but we don't do anything about it because they're internalized fantasies. They're not visions that we can actually progress.
Yeah. So we're talking dreams here. We're not talking about dreams like I had last night where you were in your funny house in Beirut or whatever it was. We're talking about dreams, things where we want to be in our lives.
Yeah. And it's like, if you have some crazy idea that you could achieve something or create something or do something, have a go for it. Yeah. The amount of people that I have worked with in later life, 70s, 80s, even 90s, people that are dying, they're actually going through their life with me and saying, if only, and why didn't I? And I wish I had, or I wish I hadn't, because it was all internalized. It was never actually acted out. Yeah. That's a sad place to be.
There's a line along the bottom here. Look, I'm annotating. Oh, I've mucked it up. I'm trying to be clever. Undo. So this last bit, the fun is making the dream reality. I think, yeah, we
Yeah,
could do a whole podcast just on that, because I think about that a lot, really, and I've mentioned it a lot in the show over the years, but a lot of people might get stuck because they haven't reached that goal yet. Whereas my way of thinking, or the way I try to understand it, is that, the journey along the way to achieving the goal is the fun part, and the actual goal itself at the end sometimes can be a little bit underwhelming.
yeah, like an anticlimax. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Well, one of the things I find when I'm working with people that are planning stuff is very often the goal is too far away. And that doesn't mean to say it shouldn't be, but what you have to do is you have to make a stepped approach, so that if you can get from where you are to step 1 and then 2, 3, 4 until you get to where you want to be, that's the key. But it's making the steps fun. So when you get to one step, you go woo, and that gives you the energy to go for the next one. There's that kind of thing. So, and a part of that is the idea that if you're approaching all this stuff from the point of view of gratitude and happiness and wanting to do this, then the world expands for you. Whereas if you're approaching from the world from the point of view of ingratitude, as in, oh, well, I won't be able to do that, but that wouldn't work for me, would it? Oh, no. Then the world contracts and you can't do these things. It's a standard. And what's known as the law of attraction states that you can only attract positive things if you're positive. And I think that just being clear about that, the law of attraction isn't some magical thing that brings things to you. The law of attraction affects your awareness. So you miss the positive opportunities because you're being negative. And if you're being positive, you see them and then you go for it.
Yeah.
You grab the chance. Yeah. And in that sense, the law of attraction is like a mirror. It's like it's creating an exact mirror of who you are and what you are. Yeah. And if what you are is grateful, then the world is likely to kind of give you a lot of gratitude back. It works that way round. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, there is a tendency with the law of attraction stuff, isn't there, to assume that you've just got to, write your dreams down or write what it is you want, and that exact figure of how much you want in your bank account, and then you just kind of sit back and do nothing and it'll come to you. Whereas it doesn't really work like that, does it? You kind of
you got to do something. You have to have a stimulus to create a response.
Yeah, but importantly, that stimulus part is fun and engaging, isn't it? And you feel kind of connected to the universe.
Yeah. And even when you go through bits in any organizational process that are tough, when you're going through it, that's when you need to turn it into fun. You need to do things to make it more fun. If you've got to spend the whole day organizing the warehouse, okay, let's do it with a positive attitude rather than, oh God, that kind of thing. Yeah.
All right. But sometimes the negative paradigm comes a calling, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing about this negative inner stuff, this learned behavior, the learned thought patterns come back so easily. And it's like, if we're honest, we all moan about something. We all have dissatisfactions and frustrations, all of us. Even the most positive people at times go, ugh. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. But very often the issues are from the negative, in the point of view of, I don't want that. It's a bit like you say to somebody, what kind of food do you really like? And they go, oh, no. I can tell you what I don't like. What kind of music do you like? I can tell you what I don't like. And it's like we're focusing on the negative. It's this negative bias. Yeah. And we all do it. So like the question at this process when we're going through the course is okay, be honest. What do you complain about? What is it that's going on for you that you moan about?
Even you and I have a little bit of a moan before we come on air, don't we, Sean, about what's going on in the world?
Yeah. I mean, I think that for anybody that's trying to improve things, I mean, you have your frustrations with traffic and bikes and all that kind of stuff, and it's like I have frustrations with plastics, and I can't believe the amount of plastics that we produce, and why do we do it? We don't have to, but we've just got into the habit of doing it, and it's so damaging to so many things. you know, and there's lots of bits that I look at like that. But it's, to me, the whole kind of the law of allowing is allowing the universe, allowing people to be what they need to be. I mean, I really hope that we don't mess this planet up. Yeah, but I can only do what I can about doing my bit.
Yeah.
If other people, it's a bit like the virus. If people don't, do the distancing and cleansing and all that kind of stuff, it keeps spreading. It's inevitable. It doesn't matter what you think or feel; it's just going to happen.
Yeah, virus going to be a virus. Yeah, no, I think about this step in particular a lot, about the work that I've tried to kickstart environmentally, locally, and I'm quite new to this environmental campaigning world, and it's hard, and I feel I'm amazed that there are people out there that have been doing it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years campaigning on environmental stuff, because you're constantly butting up against opposition to kind of the way things are, and this is the way we do things. We don't ride bikes around here, and we don't recycle plastic, or we don't worry too much about this, that, or the other. You're constantly hitting barriers, despite all the well-meaning stuff. So having the kind of mentality to be a bit more zen, or just having to take a breather every now and again and do a Gandalf, and just sit down for a bit and just.
So do you get frustrated by people's attitude to what you're trying to do?
Oh, like you wouldn't believe. Yeah, like massively. But I think in the last few months in particular, I've got quite zen and chilled about it, because maybe I'm putting into action some of this stuff that we're talking about now. But I know that, like history is on, all the laws of physics are on my side. So I've just got to wait a little bit and be a bit patient.
Yeah. It's fun, isn't
it? Yeah, and then we've got so you just mentioned the law of allowing, isn't it? So I guess the point, at what point do you kind of have to stop allowing people doing things or that aren't acceptable?
I think that's the issue of, I mean, I'm quite clear about this. For me, it's like, if I was in a room with you and someone attacked you, I wouldn't observe and go, oh, that's interesting. Ed's facing his karma. I wonder if he's going to get killed. I'd jump in and defend you. And that might mean that I ended up killing the assailant, but that'd be the way it is. So it's like, I'm not saying that we should just sit back and go, okay, fine. Yeah. But overall, it's like, we need to allow people to be what they need to be. If you go back to Northern Ireland in the Troubles, could the Catholics allow the Protestants to be Proddy and the Proddies allow the Catholics to be Catholic? No, it be turned into a battle. And the need to control people and make them do something usually comes from fear. And very often it's fear of the unknown. Yeah. Like those Johnny Foreigner coming to our country kind of stuff. And it's like, Johnny Foreign is just like you and me, actually. But they may have, when in Rome, do like the Romans. Well, okay, yes, we need to comply to what's going on around us, but we're all kind of different. We need to allow each other to be different and to be what we are.
Yeah, I can't actually remember. I should know. Is there a chapter on allowing in the book, or is that?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and it's the whole issue for me about all kinds of things. It's like the drug issue. It's like we make things illegal, and when we make them illegal, they go underground. Then we have money laundering and people trafficking and all kinds of horrible things that are associated with it. Whereas if you legalize the drug issue, because people do actually drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes and do all kinds of things, if you legalize it, you can actually have some control over it, by allowing it to be what it needs to be. Yeah. Whereas when we just let it run riot, and it's a bit like, you can't actually stop people getting into bad habits, because they do. You can work with them, but if you make things illegal and put it underground, a bit like prohibition in the States, so everyone's got a still in the backyard and they're making their own hooch. It's all that kind of stuff that's going on. Need a bit of tolerance going on here.
But I do remember on the course when we did this section on law of allowing, it can get a bit feisty, can't it? In a bit.
It can, yeah. Yeah.
Get some energetic conversations crop up, don't they?
Yeah, and it brings out people's prejudices, Right. And most appalling things. I can remember there was a guy who was a Sikh, in North Wales who was attacked by a right-wing fascist with a machete because he thought he was a Muslim. And this guy was a maxillofacial surgeon, had his hands destroyed trying to defend himself. You know, I mean, horrible, horrible stuff. Horrible intolerance going on. Yeah.
Mm.
There's something in all this, which is that there's a guy called Emile Coué.
Mm-hmm.
And Emile Coué is the guy that's responsible for phrases like, every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Yeah. And everybody goes, oh, when they hear it. But actually it's true, because if you live it and you go along with it, then it's true. If I have the mindset of every day I'm getting better and better, I'm looking at things to get better about. If I've got the mindset about, well, we're all stuck, aren't we? You know, a leopard can't change his spots and you can't teach an old dog new tricks, then we're stuck. Yeah, and that's part of our sticking. We have to learn to change our mindsets. So this reverse effort is the negative side of the law of attraction. So it's a bit like, say I'm trying to stop smoking. Right? If I say to myself, I must not have a cigarette, I must not have a cigarette, I must not smoke, I must not have a cigarette, the more I focus on the idea of a cigarette and not having a cigarette, the more I want one. Whereas if I can focus on, I will have clean water to drink and fresh air to breathe and all that kind of stuff, something changes. People focus on the negative. Yeah. And learning to focus on the positive is so difficult for so many people.
Yeah, well, Mother Teresa is an example you use a lot, isn't it, in terms of what was her story?
Well, she was asked, which I thought was quite a phenomenal thing, really. She was asked to go to an anti-war rally and to present, and she said, no, I'm not doing that. And they said, why? And she said, well, I'm not going to an anti-war rally, I'll go to a pro-peace rally. Because she understood that what you focus on, you create more of. So if we're focusing on war, anti-war, got to get rid of war, we've got to fight war, you know, what on earth are we talking about? Yeah. Whereas if we're looking at pro-peace, then the world changes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a potentially controversial opinion of mine, which I haven't thought too much about, but I worry that the amount that we place on of like an ever expanding health service in the UK, in terms of how things we treat and what's going on, creates more lack of health.
Yeah. No, that's probably right.
So the bigger the hospital, because you have this is my transport nerd in me, but the obvious thing to do if you have a congested road is to build another lane to expand the road so there's more space for cars. But there's countless examples in history. Every time that happens, within a year or two, the extra lane is filled up and you're back to square one. It's called induced demand. Yeah. So it just creates more demand for more car journeys. It's what you need to do, and what is really hard politically and kind of psychologically is reduce capacity for cars. So you actually need to narrow and contract the amount of space you have for cars. So people have to basically are forced to find other ways of getting there, which is really hard. It's like one of the hardest things to do politically because no one thinks it works. But it does work because the countries that have done it have benefited massively. So is the same true for all sorts of things like that?
Yeah. But it's the issue of what we focus on, we bring about. So that, you know, it's like thoughts become things. So that if you design a bigger road network, inevitably you're going to get more traffic on the road. You know, and I can remember back in the 60s and the 70s, people going on holiday from London down to Devon, which was the main holiday resort. People weren't flying all over the world then. And the roads going down to Devon were so bad that they would get choked. So what people would do is they would leave to go to Devon at 11 o'clock at night, drive through the night and arrive for breakfast in the morning. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then they could get some clear roads, because they knew that in the daytime it'd just be clogged solid.
But not everyone did it. Otherwise, it would be just clogged through the night as well.
Yeah. But I mean, it spread it out more. So people, I guess what I'm saying is people had to actually think about the process rather than just doing it. Yeah. You know, it's the bit that's important. Yeah.
Fascinating psychology. I mean, we came on to tolerance before in the law of allowing a little bit, I guess, to know you. it's a big issue, isn't it, in terms of this section that we're talking about.
Yeah, and the thing is that tolerance breeds liberation, it breeds communication, it breeds resolution, all kinds of stuff. Intolerance creates so much negativity, intolerant of whatever. And it's like the only thing I'm intolerant about is people's not giving you the right to have your point of view. It's that kind of thing. It's like it doesn't matter whether I agree with it or not, but if it doesn't kind of scare the horses and hurt other people, it's like, get on with it. What's the problem?
Well, I mean, you've got the Taliban written down there, and I guess.
Well, at the time when we ran the course, the Taliban issue was hot, and I guess it still is, because in Afghanistan, the issue about can the Western troops pull out and let the Taliban run the country, and a lot of the people in the country saying, please don't go, stay there. But the issue is, do we need to fight the Taliban or communicate with the Taliban? And that's true all the way along. We've got all kinds of problems in different parts of the world. And Myanmar, or Burma, as it was, is now in the throes of martial law and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's so important. It's easy to create more problems by being intolerant and prejudicial, rather than being positive. It's like if there's someone in the workplace who you really, really don't like, they get up your nose. Very often, the easiest way to get over the problem is to go and be nice to them. And that tends to dissolve the problem. Whereas if you go in there going, it just gets worse. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a weekend job I had when I was out of uni, or a temp job I had, working in a warehouse, actually just shifting stuff around in summer holidays between university courses. And there was a chap there that for some reason we just didn't get on. I was a temp and he was a full-time guy there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, he just didn't like me for some reason. But then kind of one day I struck up a conversation with him, or I mentioned his name, or when I went to pass him something, or just did something kind of an act of kindness, just something really small.
Yeah.
And that just flipped something, because the fact that I used his name and he kind of realized that, well, maybe this guy's not so bad. And from that day on, just from passing him, I don't know, the salt and pepper or something like that, whatever it was, we generated this, it wasn't like a lifetime friendship, but we kind of got on from that point on. This one little weird thing is so strange.
Yeah.
But it worked. So yeah, if only we could have done that with the Taliban back in the day. Maybe they just wanted some salt and pepper.
If we can get down to this global understanding, if we look after each other, we're all going to be okay. We're doing all right. Yeah.
Are you a man of prayer, Sean? Do you?
Well, I think the prayer comes in different forms. So a lot of prayer in a religious sense is about making a noise. We keep talking to God, demanding God, asking God, thanking God, whatever, and we don't stop long enough to listen to the answer to the prayer. So, and my issue is that what I call the knowing silence is when you can sit down, what you were talking about earlier on about, doing a Gandalf, and sit down and allow the answer to come to you, because the issue is, if you're going to say to the universe, to God, whatever, can you give me the answer to this problem? If you don't shut up long enough, then you're never going to hear the answer. Yeah. And that's a real big issue. Some people talk about the idea of having a guardian angel, having this being that will be looking after you. For many people, that works as a concept. Love it, great. Yeah, if you can do that and tune into that. And there's a huge philosophy which is about ask and it's given. If you actually ask the universe for something, it will come to you. And a lot of the law of attraction is based around that idea. And I think there's a basic truth in it, but I keep going back to the fact that the law of attraction isn't about you affecting the universe and this stuff kind of landing in your lap. It's more about you developing the awareness to see what you need to be attracted to go and do it. That's the key.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. I mean, I remember, back at school, we used to do daily kind of prayer at the end of the day, just out of habit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Before we kind of went home from school, and
yeah,
I guess there's a difference, isn't it, between doing something out of habit just because you do it, and there's a different, and then actually doing something because you're doing it for a reason.
But that was a bit like when, as a kid, we had to say grace before a meal, and it went from a thing that we said through to truly thankful. Then we'd eat our food.
Yeah, get out of the way. Come on.
It just broke down. Yeah.
You've got a list of laws here written down. So are these tattooed on you somewhere, Sean, or?
Yeah. And these are so important because, and they're things that the book goes into a bit. But it's like, okay, the laws of the mind. What's actually going on here? We know the laws of physics. Yeah, we know those all the time, gravity and motion, all that kind of stuff. But when we're in this kind of psychological, cognitive, mental, emotional place, what's going on? Well, the first one is the law of attraction, which is what do you pay attention to? Yeah, you're attracted to what you pay attention to. If you're not paying attention to it, you don't get it. Right? Now, all of us, because the second law I call the law of deliberate creation, all of us are creating what happens next. So we wake up in the morning, we think, oh, bloody hell, not again. Guess what kind of day we're going to have? Whereas if we get into deliberate creation, we can wake up and go, no, today's going to be a good day. I'm going to think it's going to be positive. And then we change the day. Yeah. Cool. The next one is the law of allowing. Stop fighting everything. Stop being intolerant. Allow things to be what they are. Allow them to be what they need to be, and stop fighting it. Yeah. Makes your life a whole lot easier. The law of visualized change is, we say what you think about, you bring about, but it's more than that. It's what you feel and what you visualize. It's being able to see it. Yeah, it's a bit like when Edison creates the light bulb, he can visualize the light bulb and he pulls that vision into the present. And that kind of visualized change is so important. It's a bit like if you're going to lose weight, it's so much easier if you can visualize the slim you. Yeah. And then you have an image to work with.
Yeah.
The law of positive affirmation is becoming a policeman to your mind, so that if you hear yourself saying something negative, oh, Sean, you bloody idiot, it's changing that to, no, Sean, you're not an idiot. You've just got this opportunity to grow. Isn't that good? You know what I mean? It's like changing, reframing the way you're thinking and you're feeling. So important. Yeah. Cool. And all these things, they sound like, oh my God, such a task to get into, but they just become habits as you do it. Yeah. The law of effortless learning is about working smart. It's so easy to make life tough. It's like, if you're going to do a course, you're going to learn something, program it in, put it in your diary, do the bits at a time. Don't leave it till the last minute and then it's, oh my God, I've got to get this assignment in, which is what most of us did when we were doing our college stuff. It's much easier if you actually work smart. You make your life easier. Yeah. Any part of your life, that's true. Yeah. Cool. And these last two are two which can become so negative. Like the first one is the law of fixed thinking. When you start saying, that's the only way you can do it, we've always done it this way and all that kind of stuff, usually you create things that are so difficult that things have to fail before they can change. So we have what I'd see as growth through pain. If there's two ways you can grow and learn, one is through awareness, the other one is through pain. If you get fixed in the way that you think and the way that you act, the only thing that's going to change it is pain. That's to get difficult before you make it different. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And the last one is the law of instinctual responses. When you get into the instinctual habits of always responding in the same way, it's like if you do the things in the same way, you get the same results. You get that negative repetition all the time. Yeah. And when you're working with post-traumatic stress disorders, that's what you've got. You've got someone who keeps replaying the negative over and over again. It could be in flashbacks, it could be in smells, taste, colors, whatever, but they keep going back to that instinctual response. Oh my God. Yeah. Rather than processing through. And all these things I mean, the positive ones there, trying to get yourself going so that you can get the best out of your life. But if you do hit the negative ones, do something about it. Talk to somebody. Do something positive.
Some of like at least half of those are quite new to me, so I think I can see a little podcast series coming, because
okay,
we could do an episode on each one of those, really, couldn't we?
Yeah. And the thing is, they are so important, and they can appear a bit daunting when you look at it like a list like that. But if you just practice each one as you go along, it's amazing how quickly it just becomes a way that your mind is working. So that you're not rehearsing the negative all the time.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So that's kind of that, really. We've cracked step 7, haven't we? But yeah, do you want to give a general overview of what we've just gone through then, and what are maybe some typical examples of people that do get stuck and how they've overcome it?
I think that anybody that's listening to this today will identify that there's times when they get stuck. There's times when they have been stuck, and the issue of how do you respond to being stuck? I mean, we had that thing. I showed you that thing last week of Winston Churchill saying, "Never, never, never, never give up." And if you do have that kind of conscientious determinism, you do get where you need to get. But it's not allowing any of the negativities that happen to drive you down. It's like bounce up, keep going, do what you need, treat them as lessons to learn from. But all of us get stuck. We get stuck because of old thinking, old feeling, old habits, of things that get in the way. Other people get in the way. Life gets in the way. We get COVID-19. How many people have had their dreams stuck? Things they've been trying to do. But that doesn't mean to say that you can't do things. I mean, there was always that idea that what do fishermen do when they can't go to sea? They stay at home and they mend their nets and fix their gear so that when they can go fishing, they're better at it. Yeah. And if we're in that position where we can't do the things that we want to do right now, okay, what can we do that's going to underpin what we can do when we can do it?
Yeah, there's a lot of net mending going on at the moment, isn't there?
But, yeah. Good stuff.
It's fascinating times. All right, cool. We're talking about next week is about money, I think, if I'm right, Sean.
Yeah. We're into the idea of money, but it's bigger than money. It's resources. Because very often people get stuck because they can't create the resources they need to do the next bit. So and money is a tough thing for us to deal with as a society. Money doesn't grow on trees. Filthy lucre. We have lots of negative attitudes to money. And if someone is successful and rich, we tend to think, I wonder who they screwed to get their money, rather than seeing it as a positive energy that flows around the system.
Yeah. Well, certain cultures see it differently, don't they? And so, So yeah, that's gonna be a fascinating one. Okay. livingthepresent.co.uk for all the show notes and links, and the free chapter PDF, which you can download. Anything else, Sean? Are you happy?
I am happy. I'm always happy.
Cool.
And the issue is keep going, keep working at it. And if you get stuck and you got problems, talk to me, talk to you, talk to somebody, do things to change it, make it move.
Talk to Gandalf if possible.
Yeah. You have to get yourself a staff though.
No. All right, cool. Thanks, Sean. You have a good week, and I'll catch you next time.
You take care. See you
later.
now.
Bye.
Bye.